Good morning. My name is Jacob Folger and I am a sculptor and artist. And today we're going to make a fairy tree house with fairy garden. And to start off, we need to make our fairy tree house. And the way we're going to do that is with something called polymer clay, because when it is hard, it is waterproof. And this is polymer clay here. And so we're going to get started with that. This is Sculpting brand polymer clay, and it is Sculpting original. And before we start sculpting it, we need to get it pliable, and the way to do that is to knead it in our hands. And it's best to do a really good job of this. It may seem a little hard at first, but then it will get soft when you do this. And I recommend kneading it for a few minutes, because I've worked with it before and had it crack on me while I was working because I didn't knead it enough. That should about do it. Now, one thing that I found when I started making these trees a while back was that the texture to a tree is similar to the imprint my hand leaves when I'm squeezing it like this. Okay? So I found that that's actually desirable. And so that's what I recommend doing is you can add some more texture to it if you want, but let me show you. So what I would recommend doing is starting off with a ball. So squeeze a ball like this, okay, and then start to squeeze it in an oblong shape. Your hand is making the imprints for the actual texture of the tree, and squeeze it so that down here it's wider than up here. And so I wanted it maybe about that size. And that's about the width of my hand. Now what I'm going to do is I'm going to kind of flatten the bottom with my thumb here. And then I'm going to start pulling, as you can see, for some roots. And that's one. That's two. And I usually do about three. So it can stand on its own like that. And then at the top I do the same thing. I pull out a little bit for branches. Just pull out a little bit for branches. They don't have to be real wide, because the moss is going to overhang the branches, so it just has to be a little bit. But you do want, they are there for support, so that is important. Okay, I'm just kind of making it uniform now. Okay, now I'm going to take the rear end. This is a paintbrush. I'm going to take the rear end of a paintbrush and I'm going to press it in here to form a door. And you can roll it back and forth. like that. Just trying to get it uniform. Okay. So that's what that should look like. That's the door to the house. And then up here, I'm going to put a window by just poking the brush in to make a window, and you can also spin the brush end to make it go in and out easily. Now what you can do is you can take a sharp knife and draw lines where the door is to give it the appearance of wood planking. Like a wood door would be. Okay, and I just want to spread these out a little bit more since they'll be holding the moss. And the other thing I want to do is I just want to curve it a little bit, just so that it looks more like a natural tree. Now there's a couple things more you can do if you want. You can take a wood sculpting tool like this. These come in packages of 8 to 10 wood sculpting tools, and they're you know, maybe $10 or $12. Or you can use something else, like you could use a pen, really. You could use a pen. But we'll use a wood tool. And all you do basically is draw lines. And that just gives it more of an appearance of bark. Okay, so that's the fairy treehouse. Now I'm going to set that aside for a moment, get it out of the way here, and I'm going to show you something here. This is a regular metal coat hanger, and we're going to need 2 pins for the tree, top and bottom. One to hold the moss on, and one to stick into the soil of the garden. So when cutting this, even though I have really strong hands, it's very difficult for me to just snip a piece off. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to show you what you can do. You can squeeze a little bit and then bend. This is very common. We probably know it from when we were kids, bending things and breaking them and that sort of thing. So that is how you do that. So we have a length here, maybe 1.5 inches long. I'm going to make another one for the bottom. Just bend it back and forth, but you need the pliers to do it. Don't try to do it with your hands, it'll hurt them. And there we go, so there's 2. Set that aside. And then we just stick this in the top of the tree. You don't want it sticking out too much because the moss is not that thick. At least for me it isn't today. And then the other one, just stick it in the bottom. Like that. Maybe, and stick it in the bottom like that, and then maybe have it sticking out about 1 inch. Like that. And that is our tree. Okay, I was thinking for this fairy garden that we're about to make, it'd be nice if we had some fairy houses. And I do have a video on how to make a fairy house, but we're going to need some small ones, and I just want to show you how easy it is to actually make a really small one. So I'm kneading the clay as the polymer clay. I'm kneading it and want to get it nice and soft. And I'm going to go ahead and make a little house. It would be nice to have the fairy tree house and then some little houses to go with it. So what I did was I roll a ball, and then I roll it so it's oblong shape like that. You can see it's very small. And then I take these two fingers and squeeze on to the opposite side, to one side and then the opposite side, and these two fingers, and I squeeze, and it molds it into a rectangular shape. Okay, next I'm going to squeeze the top of the little house we're making to form the shape of a gable or a point. It's called a gable. Oops. And that's what it should look like. Alright, next I'm going to take a small bit of clay and I'm going to roll a ball and then a noodle, almost a noodle or oblong shape, like that, and then I'm going to squeeze it. And that's the roof. So there it is. Now I'm going to take a paintbrush, the back end of a paintbrush, and make a little window like that, and then lay it down like that and press it in for the door. And that's what it should look like. And then I can take just a tiny little ball of clay and this will be the chimney, and I just press that into place like that. And I'll set that down, and I'll get my hanger here, and I need a length about 1 inch long, and bend it like that. And we'll get it like that and stick it in the bottom of the house so it'll stand up in the garden. And then if there's any imperfections, like the door got messed up a little bit there, I'll just straighten them out. And that is how you make a little house. Okay, to cook these, you cook them at 275 degrees and maybe for 20 to 25 minutes. I would recommend cooking the tree separately only because it's much thicker and bigger than the little house. So the tree I would cook for about 30 to 35 minutes, and the house I would cook for about 15 to 20 minutes or so, somewhere in there. And you should make maybe 3 or 4 houses so that we have plenty for the garden. Okay, once you've cooked your houses and your tree, and you've allowed them to dry, you've allowed them to cool, it'd probably be a good idea to paint them. And so I'm going to show you what I do that I really like. I'm going to use black paint. This is just exterior grade Ultra Cover Premium Latex paint made by Rust-Oleum, and I used the flat black. And so I'm just gonna paint them. I'll show you what I'm gonna do after that. Don't worry. But we're gonna start off with black. I think I'm gonna use a different brush here. I'm gonna use this brush here. And just get a good cover. You definitely want exterior grade, because if you use just regular interior house paint, it'll peel off probably. It won't last for very long. Okay, so we're going to make them look real pretty here in a minute, but the black is the base coat for a lot of my finishes, and it makes the finishes that I do really stand out. So we're just going to paint them up. And when you finish painting your pieces, let them dry for about an hour. There we go. Okay, we're going to put the final finish on these pieces now. I'm going to show you what to do. First, we're going to need some Johnson's Paste Wax. I've been using it for years. I think it's really a good product. And then we're also going to need this product called Pearl X Pigments. And it comes in a lot of different colors. You can just choose your colors. And it's made by Jackard Products. It's available at most art supply stores and craft stores. It comes in a whole bunch of colors. I really just like it. I've been using these metallic type of finishes for many years, and I just like them a lot. But for the tree, we're going to use bronze. And the reason why is trees kind of have a bronzy appearance, at least to me they do. And I think it'll look really nice. So what I do is I put my finger, I kind of rub it into the wax, and then I swirl it on my finger like that, just to make sure there's no chunks. And then I dip my finger in the bronze and just lightly go over the tree. I dip again. And you see it's really strikingly beautiful. You also can get the bronze and gold colors and various ones at art supplies and craft stores and that sort of thing. And I just think it's the prettiest thing, personally. And as the bronze ages, it will take on different hues and that sort of thing over a period of time. For the you can wipe your finger off on a towel or cloth or something. For the houses, I want to do different colors. I'm going to do purple on this one, and it's put on the same way as the bronze. That's purple. I'm going to do green on this one. Since it's a fairy garden, seems to me we can have a little bit of color. And I'm going to put blue. This is blue. It looks like pink, but it really isn't. It's blue. There we go. And on this one, I've got this color. It's new. I haven't used it before. I don't even know what it looks like really, but it looks like blue. Some kind of blue. It's a bluish green color. And so it's an antique-y kind of finish, but with colors. And there we go. So now we can get started on building the garden. Okay, we've got our moss here, and I get most of the elements for my moss gardens from around my house or the park or wherever I can find it. And I actually harvested this moss here this morning, and from around my house. And there's two kinds. There's this lighter green, kind of grassy-like moss, and there's this these moss balls here that are a darker green. And I always like a little bit of contrast, because what I'm trying to do when I build a garden is not only make it really nice, but I want to draw people's eyes from one end to another. And I want them to like look over here and for a minute, and then look over here. And the way to do that is to use lighter colors and that sort of thing. So like I might use a stone to do it, or a piece of sea glass or something like that, or a fairy house or a fairy tree house. This glass here this is just scrap for me, and I decided that today I would use it for the drainage of the garden itself. And I have this bowl here. This is a rather deep bowl, but I like the bowl, and I thought, well, I bought it at a thrift store last week, and I said, you know, I'm gonna make a garden with this, and it's deep and tall, but I like it. I like it a lot. So I thought I would do that, and because this yellow is not a color that I like very much, I'm gonna use it. I won't use it probably for any projects I'm doing, so I'm going to use it for the drainage for the garden. Moss should have drainage, because it should never be left soaking in soggy and just sitting in water. It's not good for it. It doesn't like it. But it does like moisture. So when you have your garden set up and that sort of thing, I hope you enjoy watering, because you're going to have to water. And we'll talk about that before we end the video. So I'm going to just put these glass beads, these yellow glass beads, in the bottom of my bowl. And that will be the drainage. So basically what would happen is, if too much water got in, it would go through the soil and into the glass beads here, and just sit at the bottom. So it would basically be drainage. So it looks like that. Okay, next will be the soil, and I would tell you that moss doesn't really require soil, but it requires moisture, and soil makes a good bed for moss, and it retains some moisture, and so we want to keep the moss moist, so that's why I would use soil. And this soil, actually, just about an hour ago, came from under a tree, a big old tree that's out in my yard. And the reason why I use it is because from under a tree is because it's a lot richer and healthier, and it also doesn't cost anything. So I'm gonna just put that in pour it into the bowl. So looks like that. Okay, next is I'm gonna go ahead. This soil is a little bit dry, so I'm gonna take a mister here, and I'm just gonna mist it, and just get it a little moist, more moist, since I want my moss to be very happy. Okay, so moss, you can cut it with scissors. You can tear it. You can break it off. So it's actually not too hard to do. And so I'm just going to break off a little piece here, and I'm going to lay it into the bowl. This is almost like a carpet here, and they say that moss is nature's carpet. And I'm going to just hold my finger along the edge here and just tear that off like that. I've got it covering most of it, so what I'm going to do is, since there's a little bit that's not covered, I'm going to take some of this dark green moss balls and I'm going to fill it in there. And you know, so this is the basic, this one sheet is a very light green, so it does draw your eye in. But then we're going to work it and hopefully be able to capture everyone's eye that looks at it from different views. So I've got a little bit of moss there. Now I'm going to put the house in, which is the fairy tree house, and I'm gonna raise the camera a little bit so we can get a better view of it. There we go. And that's kind of the focal point. So I'm going to put it right here and just stick it in, just like that. And then I might put a couple of the houses around. I like symmetry. You know, sometimes I try to force myself not to do it, but I really like it. It's just natural for me. So you've got this little kingdom going on here. And maybe put a rock in the back here. And a piece of blue glass back here. That takes out the symmetry. There we are. For those that don't like it very much. And I put a green one here. Yeah, there. And put another green one right here. Maybe a white one in the middle, eh? There we go, that's colorful. Okay, so now we want to put the moss foliage on top of the tree. So I'm just basically going to tear off a little bit of the excess overhang. Make it like an oval shape. And then just put it on top of the tree, on top of that pin. There we go. Wow. It's quite a little fairy garden. Now let me tell you a few things. This moss on the tree is going to require more water than this moss here, and the reason why is because it doesn't have any kind of soil or anything that it's growing on. It doesn't. The tree is polymer clay. It's not going to hold water, so you're going to have to mist that probably frequently. I have a couple trees that I mist all the time. I'm like going by misting them all the time. So just keep that in mind. It's fun to do though, I think, because it's the whole point of moss and green and plants and that sort of thing is the moisture and lush, and it's just, man, it really turns me on, especially moss. I really like it a lot. I love to harvest it, I love to look at it, I love to walk on trails and find it, even if I'm not going to pick it. I mean, I just love it, I really do. So the contact that I have with moss is very important to me, and so, you know, I welcome the opportunity to water it, because it's fun to water. And you've got to do it. You've got to do it, because otherwise it won't be very happy up there on top of that tree. But other than that, it's a fun little project, and I think it's turned out pretty good. My name is Jacob Folger. I'm an artist and sculptor. I like to share what I do, and you may subscribe to my channel. That would be really great if you did. And please visit my website at jacobfolger.com. Have a great day.